I missed that one because I was out looking at the other trailers and trying to get back and forth.
11:30.
$1,200.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that one was the 46-foot triaxle dovetail hydraulic tool.
All right, let's roll. I'd like to bring the June 11th, 2014 Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Posenel?
Present.
Commissioner Selberg?
Here.
Commissioner Buck?
Here.
Commissioner Azarmi?
Here.
Commissioner Walker?
Here.
Commissioner Coletta? Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Simons?
Present.
And Commissioner Gordon? Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to, maybe you know or maybe you don't know, but I'd like to have just a moment of silence for Supervisor Brotherton, who passed away this last month. So if we could have 30 seconds of silence, that would be very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple of announcements. Anyone who has not yet signed in, please do so at the table located in the lobby. Should anyone wish to speak, please complete the request to speak form, which is also located in the lobby table next to the sign-in sheet. A request to speak form must be completed for each item, including sub-items. Please note that there are stairs on the right, the left, center aisles, and we ask that you use caution when using these stairs. There's also a ramp located at the audience's left. If anyone has written comments, exhibits, petitions, photos, or letters they intend to present at today's meeting, please have 17 copies and give them to the staff member in the back of the auditorium. She has her hand up. Okay, if you do not have 17 copies, please use the table of the overhead camera next to the podium to present your documents. If you want your documents to go on record, you must hand them to the clerk after your presentation with the agenda item clearly marked on the document. Members of the public cannot speak to staff members who are sitting up here in the front with the microphones during the meeting. If you have any questions, please see the staff member located at the back of the auditorium. A timer will be activated for all speakers and will be limited to 2 minutes to make your presentations and statements. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones, pagers, or place them on vibrate during the meeting. If you must receive a phone call, please leave the meeting area and go outside to have your conversation. We also ask that, did I hear a phone ring? We also ask that the audience refrain from talking with one another during the presentations and discussions. Today's Planning and Zoning Commission will hear public testimony and then forward the recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. The items with the recommendations made by the Commission will be heard by the Board of Supervisors Monday, July 7th at 9:30 a.m. in the same location with the exception of any continued items. Everyone attending the meeting is asked to remember that the administrative campus building and campus are tobacco-free areas, which means no smoking is allowed curb to curb. Also, only bottled water is allowed in the auditorium. No food, soda, coffee, etc. is allowed. Item number 8 on the agenda is going to be continued. If there is any items remaining on the agenda, the Commission will break for lunch at 1 p.m. Approval of the minutes from last month. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from last month?
Yes.
If so, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the minutes from last month.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 1.
Item 1A, evaluation of a request for a reversion of acreage of Ranchos Havasu, Tract 3705A, being a recorded subdivision including parcels A and B and assessors parcel numbers 120-58-001 through 120-58-072, located in the Havasu Heights vicinity, Mohave County, Arizona. The applicant requests the reversion of acreage of Ranchos Havasu, Tract 3705A, in order to clear the land for a current subdivision proposal known as Deserve at Lake Havasu, Tract 3709, which is the next item on the agenda. A companion request for an abandonment of the public roadways and parcels is being processed separately by the Public Works Department. The request for an abandonment of public roadways is an item that will be scheduled directly on a Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. Staff recommends approval of the reversion of acreage, subject to the following conditions in the staff report.
Is the applicant present? Okay. Would you like to address the commission or wait for questions? Okay. The applicant is present. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments from the commission to the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion to approve item 1A.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for item 1A. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Item 1B.
1B, sorry about that. My phone forgot to change it.
Anything funny?
Item 1B, evaluation of a request for a subdivision preliminary plan for Deserve at Lake Havasu, Tract 3709, being a proposed subdivision on assessor parcel numbers 120-58-001 through 120-58-072, located in the Havasu Heights vicinity, Mohave County, Arizona. I'm going to read in some clarification on the number of lots and size of the lot sizes in the subdivision. The preliminary plan for Deserve at Lake Havasu, Tract 3709, depicts approximately 85 acres subdivided into 255 recreational vehicle residential lots and several parcels for public facilities, drainage, open space, and a clubhouse. The minimum single-family residential lot size in the subdivision is 4,593 square feet. The roadways will be private. The project is proposed in one phase. There are several washes located on the site. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat as stated in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. I want to make a correction. That's actually 1B that we were hearing, not 2. The applicant is present. We have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
A
Mr.
question
Zani.
for staff. There was a letter from Unisource. There was a conflict on the setback. Has that been resolved?
Chairman, Commissioners, yes, we are working with Unisource for that, with that letter that he requested on the setbacks.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
On the flood issues in the site itself, is that addressed by us, or is that a higher authority, FEMA perhaps, that would come into play on that?
Chairman, Commissioners, I'd like to refer that to Public Works. Or, oh, I'm sorry.
Flood?
Oh, 1 minute, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Bug. It would be the Development Services who would be working with the developer to address any flood issues or any drainage issues that occur on the site.
So it can be assumed that all that's addressed, taken care of, and not a threat to those being 238 RVers who come in to spend the night?
Yes, Mr. Buck. Development Services will be addressing that, or those issues have been addressed or will be addressed prior to final plat.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments on 1B? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for item 1B. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Item 2 is an evaluation of a request for an amendment to BOS Resolution Number 97-3, setting forth a zoning use permit for a private landing strip and airplane hangar on assessors parcel numbers 12022-044 through 048 in an AR 36A, agricultural residential 36-acre minimum lot size zone, to amend the legal description to include assessors parcels 12022-052 and 12022-006, and clarify and add uses to the zoning use permit in the Havasu Heights vicinity. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at its April 9th meeting and recommended approval. The Board of Supervisors heard the item at its regular meeting on May 5th, 2014, and based on public comments, the board referred the item back to the commission for rehearing with notice to the Havasu Heights residents with particular emphasis as to what the flight patterns out of the air park will be. Notices with information on the flight patterns were sent to all the property owners of record and to Havasu Heights residents. Let's see. The staff recommendation includes conditions that could be approved for the amendment if the commission so recommends, or the commission may amend those recommendations based on information heard here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Okay. The applicant is present, and we have several speakers on the item. So let's start with our speakers first. Terry Allen.
Good morning, Terry Allen, representing SBC Inc., Lake Havasu City, general contractor. It's come to our attention at the point when we were at Board of Supervisors that Mr. Cox has not obtained the proper permits and has constructed his runway along with filling in a natural U.S. waterway. I'm asking that this amendment be denied. I'm also asking that this wash be returned to its natural state, as he has not, I don't know if he has applied since this point in time, which was only 3 weeks ago, to obtain the proper permits. In addition, after reviewing the original resolution that was approved back in 1997, BOS 97003, it clearly states in there that this private airport can be revoked if the community, if it poses, a hazard or this or that. In communication with the Lake Havasu Water District, at the point in time when that amendment was created, there was only 80 water meters in the area. Today, it's at 150, which is a 75% increase. Also, there's 100 buildable lots there that would also be affected by this airport. And today, here, this gentleman wants to build 285, spaces over, again, in Havasu Heights that would be also affected by this proposed additional runway and hangars and this and that. I'm requesting this be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolly Centofanti. Hopefully I corrected that.
Chairman, due to her handicap, we should
Sure. Sure. Howard Carlson. Colson.
Mr. Chairman, board members, my name is Howard Colson. I represent myself. I own property in Havasu Heights. My primary concern, above the standard concerns of having an airport in your vicinity, is that Mr. Cox and his predecessor seem to have moved forward on things without proper authorization, without proper study, without proper permits, and so on and so forth. One is the grading of the crosswind runway and the filling in of a large drainage tributary coming out of the mountains. We have an impoundment issue there. There was no engineering that I'm aware of that was submitted to you folks. There's been other improvements on the site. By his own admission, he actually carved the runway off of his property onto someone else. Now, granted, he has since obtained ownership of that property, but I'm just concerned that we have a situation here where we have a gentleman who tends to move forward without the proper authorization, without the proper notifications, and so on and so forth. And my concern is, if we don't stop him now, how big is this thing going to get? How under control is this thing going to get? How often are we going to need to come back and revisit you folks, asking for assistance and trying to rein this thing in? I'm not opposed to the original airport as constructed for a single person with a single plane, but I am concerned now that this thing could grow exponentially and create quite a problem down the road. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chris Nixon.
Good morning. I'm Chris Nixon, retired librarian and resident of Havasu Heights. There are many reasons why the proposed airport expansion is objectionable. Why should one person be allowed to adversely affect all the residents and landowners of Havasu Heights? The people of Havasu Heights bought there for the beauty, serenity, elbow room, zoning for horses, etc. No one could ever describe the activity of any size airport as peaceful and serene. In my email to you, I enumerated a number of items that need to be addressed and explored before any decision is made to turn our residentially zoned neighborhood into a business enterprise that benefits only Mr. Cox. This is a brief recap of these concerns and to emphasize the importance of these concerns. How much noise, light, and air pollution will there be? There needs to be environmental impact reports to protect the wildlife, the plant life, and the natural flash flood zones. There should be no night flying. What size aircraft will be allowed? What will be the frequency of these flights? We don't have roads that can support the vehicle traffic associated with a proposed airport. Is there any potential for polluting our well water from leakage or spillage of toxic substances associated with airplanes and plane maintenance? What agency or entity will ensure that the proposed airport complies with all the laws and limitations? There's a very nice airport, 5 minutes by air and 10 to 15 minutes by road. How many airports does a town with a population of 53,000 really need? Ultimately, it's truly about a not in my backyard. I don't want any zoning changes. I don't want Mohave County to rezone for anything that will negatively impact me and my neighbors, including airports. We like our present zoning. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to have a voice and to remind this board that a conscientious government has an obligation and responsibility to protect its citizens from predatory private enterprises. Please don't, as the old song goes, pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you. Clay Hutchins? Okay, thank you. Barbara Atkins? Eckel?
Good morning. My name is Barbara Ackle. I'm a resident at 7583 North White Gate in Havasu Heights, and I've read the proposed amendment to BOS Resolution 97.3, and I have some questions and concerns that I'd like to have noted in your minutes today. First of all is safety, and I must say that the lady before me addressed several of my questions, so I'll just skip through. Number one, where will the main access to this airport be? Is it coming off the 95, which is already hazardous if you're turning off the 95 onto Havasu Heights Road? Are we going to have a stoplight there? What is the estimated, is there an estimated amount of the increase of traffic that's going to come through our community, churning up the dust on the dirt roads that we already have a problem with? Living next to an airport is a liability. Will our homeowners insurance be reevaluated because of this? Is it going to cost the homeowner more in homeowners insurance? I understand from reading the proposal that there's going to be a gas tank there. What is the response time if something should happen for the right department to get there, the fire department, and extinguish that? Do they have the equipment to do that, or are we going to be out in our backyards with our hoses hosing down a brush fire that's coming towards us, especially the way the winds have been this year? I think that, as far as environment is concerned, is there an environmental study, and will this information be made available to us? Mainly, I guess that my concerns are that the communication, I feel, was really lacking in putting this whole proposal through, and I hope that it's better. I think we all agree that a flow of communication makes a change, whether we agree with it or not. It makes it a lot better if we can, if the residents of the area know what's happening. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Michael Centofanti. Mr.
Chairman, just a point, when the yellow light comes on, does that mean I have 30 seconds left?
You got 30 seconds after the light.
All right, thank you.
Please state your name.
I'm Michael Centofanti, 19-year resident of Havasu Heights, 36-year resident of the county. I just want to give you the historical antecedents of why we're here today, although staff kind of summarized it. You folks already, the commission already approved it and sent it through to the supervisors. I asked them to bring it back to you so that we could have notice given to everyone in Havasu Heights, which unanimously they agreed to do that, and they have. So we're here today as members of the Havasu Heights community to give you our concerns and our opinions for your consideration in making your evaluation. For those who couldn't come, many of them are here today, for those who couldn't come here today, I canvassed the neighborhood and got their signatures on a petition, 104 of them, which I submitted to you folks, or to the commission, through the staff the other day. So you should have that, plus several letters should have gone into you, including one of my own. So I ask you to listen to the testimony of our residents, review the petitions, review the letters, and then make your decision based on the purpose of the commission, which is to balance the individual's, excuse me, the individual's rights against the public interest. I feel I've given you the public interest with the petitions, all opposing it. These folks are telling you their concerns, and you have letters. When you balance all that out against the interests of one person, I ask you to disapprove or recommend a disapproval of the applicant's item to you today. And then we'll deal with the supervisors later, I guess. But I appreciate that. And I don't think you can come up with any other conclusion but to disapprove it if you consider all those items that I mentioned to you. And thank you for the appearance.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question. You didn't, I mean, I understand that, you voice your opinion and the 104 signatures that are against it, but this commission's position is only land use ordinance, to see if the land that this gentleman has is consistent, or the request is consistent with the application. What do you have, could you give us like some reason for your objection based on the land use ordinance?
Well, the activity, by making those changes on his personal property, that'd be all right if the activities were contained within the property there, but they're not. These are aircraft. Dozens of complaints from people as I canvass the neighborhood of already flying over their homes and buzzing their livestock. So we don't want to expand that activity, which is under your jurisdiction, and making adjustments on that property, because it's going to affect us. That's why the Board of Supervisors authorizes us to come back here, so that we, who are going to be affected by that, and they are not limited by the 300-foot rule. Supervisor says we need to have notice of the activities or what's going to happen here. So that changes on that property affect things outside of the property. And that's why they gave us this jurisdiction to come back and present our case.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor, I have a question for you. The application that we have before us, is that consistent with the land use ordinance that we have?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Azami, it could be consistent with the land use ordinance. One element of that consistency is, or could be, the impact that a person's use of land will have on adjoining or on land use, the enjoyment of land use by others in the vicinity. So I think that's one of the things that this gentleman is trying to bring out. But it's, it could. That is one element of whether or not it's consistent with a sensible use of the land.
Thank you. I have other questions, but we'll save it for later.
Any additional questions of the speaker?
I do. Hello.
Crystal?
Do you know what the closest distance is to the actual viable residential home to the airport itself, the runway strip, and where they take off and land?
The findings of fact by staff indicate it's 1/2 mile between the two properties.
So it's a half mile from the landing strip to the first residential home?
As I didn't measure it, I drove it by vehicle, but that's what I'm finding in the report by staff.
Okay. And I had one other question, and I think it's going to go to staff. The very first speaker had mentioned that he filled in a state-regulated wash. Do we have any evidence of that it's actually filled in, or did he reroute on his own property back into the wash?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Simons, if I may answer that, the Flood Control District received a complaint that a wash was filled up and did an inspection back before decided and went to the Board of Supervisors. And there are many minor washes crossing this property and the other properties. And basically, there's a state law that property owners not allowed to obstruct water flow in washes, and if there is a damage, then the law says that the damaged party may file a civil case. And this wash, there was very minor fill in it, and it's easily correctable, and the only property owner that would be damaged right now is the same property owner that then the wash eventually drains into public land. And so we closed the case because typically the county, there's nothing the county would do in these cases, in these minor cases. And then many times, property owners can do some drainage as long as the water comes in and goes out at the same place and the same flow. So that's pretty much the case here.
Okay, so it's all going to be contained. He did do this to the wash. It is going to be contained or flooded in his own property if it happens. And I know it's out of your hands, but are they going to make him reroute that back into and around, or no?
Well, who's going to make him? The county flood control district has some jurisdiction to, because there's a state law, like I said, but I think what we saw, it was very minor fill placed in the wash, and then the worst case, it gets washed out, and this fill gets washed out, and then, but we didn't see any cause for damage to anyone, even for himself, and he can correct it very easily by putting in a culvert or put a dip there, or whichever way he wants to do it. And he may have done it already.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Since the issue of the grading was brought up, I'd like to ask a question from Director Hunt. I know that in our ordinance we have the applicant needs to have a permit if it is going to be more than 50 cubic yard of cut and fill. Has he applied, I mean, did he do more in your evaluation, more than 50? Did he need to have a permit, or it was like minor, less than 50?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rosarmi, that's a very good question, and the amount of fill that was placed there, that would not trigger a need for a grading plan.
Okay.
And that's a very good question. If he develops the runway later on, then he may need a grading plan, and that's part of the process. If he puts in a grading plan application, if he does the amount of grading that would require to do the actual runway, then the drainage would be a component that we check on that makes sure there is proper drainage provided.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions of the speaker or staff? Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
James Eckel? Eckel?
I'll pass.
Oh, all right.
Thank you.
All right. Brad Larson? No, I'm sorry. That's a different topic. Dolly, you're up. Okay. All right. We can give you, we got a microphone that we can take over to you.
If you wish to.
This is 2014. We're high tech.
Yes, I'm Dolly Santofanti. I was kind of floored here about the wash.
State your name, please.
Dolly Santofanti.
Thank you.
I didn't know that county law subsided state law on the wash, so this kind of shocked me. I was more interested in the tax end of it. We will have to be paying for more fire protection for our area, not only his property. And also fire, I said fire insurance, I'm sorry. Law enforcement. We will need more law enforcement in that area, I would assume, because of many airplanes being flown into that. Many years ago, about 20 years ago, I remember drugs being brought into that small runway that was there at the time. I just wondered who'll be paying for extra law enforcement also. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to address the commission?
Yes.
My name is Arlo Cox. I am the applicant. There's a lot of confusion on how big this airport's going to be. The grading was done in '97, and I did go back over it. It did go across 2 pieces of property, hence the reason we brought this in. It was done in '97 when they did that. I've got some just stats that we can put up here. Is that the right direction? On airports in this area, and you know, we'd be looking at this point, there's 5 lots right now within the zoning use permit that's permitted. We're asking to put 2 lots along with it, so it would end up being 7 at this point. Don't think that's a really big change. The airport is self-regulating on size. It's 1,800 foot long. It's not going to get a lot of large aircraft coming in there. It just isn't big enough. I've heard a lot of rumors it's going to have lots and lots of traffic. I hope it gets a little more, but I doubt that it's going to get a lot of traffic. If we compare it to Sun Valley, which has 107 lots, operations is either a takeoff or a landing based on this, and this come from NavAir. They've got a total of 16 in a day. If you reduce that down to mine, we might get into 2, 3 on the average. It's not going to be really big. I hope it works. It's been sitting there for 16 years, and nobody's ever built a house there. I'll be the first. I guess I got 30 seconds. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer it.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, Mr. Zami?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Okay.
It seems like, you're going to have a 500-gallon fuel tank there. Is that going to be used by yourself, or is that going to be sold to other planes that are coming in?
That'll be used by me. I mean, right now I'm packing fuel out there, which we can continue to do.
Okay, so it's not going to be for the purpose of selling or, okay, the other question I have is, like you mentioned in your application, that you might be able to provide land for off-site homeowners that they want a hangar built on your property.
Yes, in the application it would be off-site, which would be these 2 other lots that I've looked at.
Okay, so the people who live in Havasu Heights or might have a plane, they can build or you build and lease a hangar to them. Is that correct?
Well, at least the way I understood it would be within, and that's why I'm including the other 2 lots, not necessarily for people in Havasu Heights, but people that are adjoining this, so that everybody in that area knows. We're not looking to go out and rent to other people, just so that they could if there's a lot too far away, they could put their hangar on the site.
Yeah, I have a question for the staff. If there is any commercial application, meaning like, it's just, I don't know, renting the space or all that, is that going to be consistent with the application they have, or is that going to be in violation of the application?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, I'm not real clear on the question. I think the intent, as I understood it with this application, would be that if an owner of an adjacent parcel had an airplane, wanted to be able to fly in and out, and needed a hangar over there, they would be able to place one there. But I think if it was somebody, let's say somebody who lives in Lake Havasu, doesn't have any property in the area and wanted to come out there and have a hangar and start flying in and out of there, I think that would probably be outside of the scope of this. My understanding of it was that it would be for those people who lived in either on one of these parcels or adjacent. And perhaps the applicant can correct that if
So
I
basically, to be
misunderstood it.
consistent with the application, if there are going to be homeowners that they buy or stay on the property, they can have their own private hangars.
I believe that's correct.
Is that your?
That is at least my intent, yes. If they own property within this ZUP, they can have a hangar. That was my intent there.
So how many properties are you planning to have? How many, homeowners that they're going to have hangars are going to be in your parcel?
Right now, the way it is sitting, there would be 7.
7? And what's your goal and objective long-term?
Long-term, we might add 4 to that.
4 more?
Yeah, they're the 40-acre parcel. We may come in at some point in the future if demand and go for 5-acre parcels. So there would be, or we do 5 parcels there instead of 1, so it would be 4 additional.
So altogether it would be about 11.
11 total.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. President.
A couple issues that the residents did bring up that I'd like to get some clarification on. The first one being night flights. This is an unpaved runway, correct?
That is correct.
It's unlit.
It's unlit.
And to have night flight operations, would it need to be a lit runway per FAA regulations, or could it?
It traditionally is, but as a requirement, I don't believe the FAA requires you to have lights for
But for safety reasons?
For safety, for 99%, if you're going to do any night flying, you would go to Havasu.
And how prohibitive would that cost be for lighting that runway?
It'd be pretty prohibitive for that. You'd be probably talking, Havasu cost for theirs, they're probably got about $10 million into their airport and runway. We're doing this for 11 homes. It's pretty small. It's gravel. We're using a common, where the crosswind runway is actually going to be the road also. It isn't going to be separate, so it stays.
And that brings up my other concern is one of the issues was the potential for jet engines. And my understanding is that, with FOD, getting sucked up into a jet engine would destroy that engine. So the runway really doesn't have the capability to handle that type of aircraft, correct?
Basically, I think the only jet engine that could possibly get in there is a Harrier jet that does a vertical takeoff. It's not long enough. It's, like I say, it's pretty well self-regulating. With only 1,800 feet, it limits the size of aircraft that can be there.
But Harrier's designed for conditions like that as well to protect those engines and whatnot.
That's the only jet that
military jet.
A military jet is the only one that I think could possibly ever be a jet there.
Okay.
Unless they crashed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Cox, it is that your name,
Yes.
sir? Just trying to get it in my head. I can see the drawings here, but I need a little assistance in getting a perspective. In the section in which you own, there appears to be 27 or 28 parcels in the map. Is that?
Okay,
I don't know if we can bring it back up on the screen or not, but it's the one showing the landing. No.
The takeoff pattern.
The takeoff and landing pattern is the one I'm looking at.
Keep going.
Keep trying.
Keep going.
Keep going. It's just part of our package?
Okay. Hang on.
Oh. Let's start there, where it says subject property.
How about that one?
Are you looking at the same one?
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
There we go.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
Where the airstrip is, the hand drawing
Turn
there.
that 90 degrees, excuse me, just.
Thank you.
The other way.
Can you go the other 90?
180. All right.
There you go. All right, so counting up all those numbers down below, each one is a parcel, and each one, 4 of them there sectioned off don't have parcel numbers, but assumably they're owned by individuals. So there's 28 pieces of property in that section. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I would. I haven't counted, but I would agree it's probably.
Okay. So now you already have a landing strip in there now. And so any of these 28 people have access to that landing strip now. Is that correct?
No. My understanding, that's where I was really coming in to clarify it. I believe the only ones that have access are those 5. That is my understanding of your rules, is that within this square, that square, are the 5 that have access to the runway presently.
Okay, so they apparently bought the property with the idea that they would use the landing strip or have access if they wanted to use it.
That's how I read ZUP at this point, is that those 5 lots, which I'd buy as 1, have access to the runway.
Okay.
And what I'm asking for is the 2 adjoining ones.
Adjoining parcels?
Adjoining parcels, yeah. That would be this parcel and that parcel. Now, they were at one point kind of together because in '97 they put the runway across their parcel and somebody else's, which they must have had a private agreement.
Okay, so these other people in that section of land have no legal right to the airport or?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, when you come out of that, you have your flight, this is the one map up here is the takeoff map. So you're coming across this dirt landing strip and your 75% of your planes are going to put on a left turn signal and hang a left from this drawing, but we obviously know that's not going to happen. But when they come off of there, where that number 75 is, that's approximately, the center of that square would be a half mile, so you're a little less than a half mile from the houses in the section in Hacienda Heights. So you're less than a half mile. Is that agreeable? Havasu Heights?
Havasu or Hacienda? Hacienda is the...
Havasu Heights.
That's Ranchero.
Oh, Ranchero, okay. Havasu Heights? I would guess, yeah, you're about a half mile.
So you're about a half mile away. And at that point, when you're taking off with these little small planes, when you go that extra half mile, you're talking, are they a mile above, are they a half mile, or are they a quarter mile, are they 1,300 feet? Any idea what kind of elevation that these planes are going to pass over these houses?
With the plane, I can go with mine that is presently flying out of there. I can actually be at about 3,000 feet at that point.
Okay. And in all the information that you've got, any kind of noise information on what's created by a plane and double-engine plane at 3,000 feet, any idea of noise levels?
Well, I have this, another place that I do fly, and the one I was trying to give a guy a ride. I fly right straight basically over his house at about 100 feet. He never heard me come in. Now, they are 912 Rotax. They're one of the quietest engines out there. They're probably about a quarter of the noise level of a standard aircraft.
Okay.
Now, I can't say all aircrafts are going to be that quiet. This one's very, very quiet.
So right now, today, are there any airplanes using that airstrip?
Yes, I've been using it for the last 5 years.
Okay. So people in Hacienda Heights then, for the last 5 years, have had your plane fly over it periodically? And has anybody complained in the last 5 years about your plane flying over their houses?
Not to me.
To the county? Do we have any information on that?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Buck, we don't have any complaints that I'm aware of.
Okay. So taking things as they are right now, we've got your plane that comes in, flies off in the same basic pattern, and the only thing we're talking about is possibly adding some hangars, getting some more people capable of doing that, and maybe doubling the flight number of flights?
I mean, potentially, and I mean, full potential, you might make it 11 times.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going for potential. What do I think will happen? I doubt that there will be that many, but the potential is there to make it 11 times what there is today.
Okay.
But, and I do have 3 aircraft there on the site that are mine.
Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions for you. One, and they both have to do with the takeoff and the landing patterns. And I understand you got to have wind to go into and wind to land, but for the life of me, I don't understand why on the takeoff pattern you're not making a right turn rather than a left turn, because once you're in the air, it doesn't make any difference what the wind is.
No, and you're correct. And basically, as far as if somebody were doing a round, it's a standard practice in aviation that you make left turns.
Okay.
Well, there's no requirement. We could change that and put a note on there that we do right-hand traffic there.
Okay. Well, that would be one of the things that I would like to see done on that. And then the same thing goes with, and if there's a way to reduce that number so that it would be going the other direction would be also great, because the landing is almost the reverse numbers. And don't you think that the kind of like the northeast pattern that you're doing now will
we're going with prevailing
traffic?
Excuse me. Prevailing winds and grade of the runway is the reason that the percentages are the way they are.
Okay.
You could reverse that, but you'll still be by the safety factors. You'll be trying to
understand. You're going
land
historical.
uphill and take off down.
Yeah, I understand. It's all historical. But making a right turn, I think, would be very appropriate for this particular thing. I know you're talking the left, but and something else I'd like to mention. Someone was talking about the traffic and all that. There's going to be much more traffic with Ranchero coming down Havasu Heights Road than there'll ever be coming to this airport, and unless that whole thing gets paved, which I think a lot of it is now. But just someone had brought that up, so I just wanted to bring that up. All right, any additional questions of the speaker?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do. On your flight map, I see you do have a two-way arrow, so you can land and take off in the same directions, either or?
Yes, I mean, basically you're landing and you're taking off. Okay. Depending on wind, will change which you do.
Okay. And the other one is they had talked about night flight. Underneath the private aviation and fields, are you under, I think you fall underneath the dusk to dawn. You couldn't even do night flights if that were something that people were concerned of unless you went ahead and paved and lighted your airline or air thing, correct?
That is correct.
Yes, you are under dusk to dawn law. And most of them that you were flying out of there are like Cessna single things, and technically when you're 3,000 feet in the air, your decimals on that are no more than a remote control car that a kid is playing with in their own yard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of the speaker? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any additional discussion?
Mr.
You need to come up to the podium, sir. Please state your name.
My name's Howard Colson, 7724 North Whitegate Drive. Mr. Cox mentioned that he has 3 planes there. I think that he's being deceptive in that he is not explaining to you the types of planes that he has. I don't think that he has any what we would consider planes. I don't think there's a Cessna, a Piper, or a Comanche. His twin-engine aircraft, to the best of my knowledge, is a lightweight, kind of overgrown ultralight that I've seen the plane literally go straight up. So yes, I'm sure he can take off from a runway and be at 3,000 feet. I don't think, and I think his other 2 planes are ultralights. I personally have never seen what I consider an aircraft, by definition, land at that runway. The other thing is, if you'll go to Google and you'll look at this, he has in fact chip sealed the main runway, which is the equivalent of paving. The grading on the crosswind runway has been done since I moved there in 2006, and so not all grading was completed in '97. Grading is currently underway. The folks he rented the equipment from to do some of the work, the water trucks, et cetera, weren't even in the area in '97. So I think there's been some misleading testimony that I think staff might want to go back and verify if in fact he's being correct. If you'll recall, my testimony earlier is that is my concern, is that things are being manipulated and how they're being presented. I thank you for your time and allowing me to rebut.
Yeah. I just want to make a comment about if there is in fact chip sealing out there, that's a lot better than a lot of dust flying around, but that's my personal thing. Public comment is closed unless you've filled out a speak form.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Zami.
Well, I pretty much made a note of all the comments that was presented to us by the public. In terms of the noise pollution, in my opinion, they're almost like less than a mile from Highway 15, and Highway 15 generates a lot of traffic.
You mean 95?
I'm sorry, 95. Highway 95, and they generate a lot of traffic. I know that, the semi-trucks, as they get closer to that area, they do the engine brake, and I've been going through that a lot. So there's, in my opinion, pollution-wise, noise pollution, and all that is significantly higher. In terms of 500-gallon gas and the safety on that, I'm sure that the tank is regulated and it is approved by state, and in my opinion, some of the propane tanks in Havasu Heights are more, actually would be more explosive than, a 500-gallon tank right there. In terms of the business enterprise, I believe that it was answered that it is not the application. And in terms of the application, they have a maximum use of 11 planes with the statistically information that we have that there are 2 to 3 landing and takeoffs. Again, I go back to my earlier statement that, our commission position is the land use ordinance and nothing out of that, boundary. We are basically bound with the land use ordinance. And as Mr. Taylor stated, the only area that it comes is like, if our decision is going to severely influence the neighboring properties. In my opinion, it is not. So I just want to make sure that, I shared my opinion with the other commissioners.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments from the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Go ahead, Kristen.
Crystal?
The only other thing is I mentioned here, people say we're the emergency response and safety, and I wanted to note that most of these aircraft flyers are literally trained that if they have a problem with their flight or their plane, they put it down away from public. That means in a wash, barren land, in the middle of a street. Their emergency response time is no different than if you were driving a car and had a car accident in the area. So when I look at that and I see that people are really pushing the emergency response, what's it going to do to your taxes? It shouldn't change that. You know, people pay insurance on airplanes just like you pay on your car. They pay insurance on the hangars just like you pay on your house. They pay for these services by lot in even a private airport. And like I said, the emergency response time, if your house was on fire, your house is more of a danger to your neighbor's house than what an airplane would be touching down in a field. So, you know, I have to say that with the emergency response, I don't know how the other, you know, commissioners feel about that. I think that everyone pays their dues to have services equal to anybody else in any field that you do, home, flight, or other.
Please don't talk.
The public meeting public testimony is already concluded. Sorry. Any
Chairman?
additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That restriction making a right-hand turn as opposed to a left-hand turn, are we requesting that? Are we making it a conditional thing? I think that's significant, and I'd like to somehow know what our limitations are in being able to address that.
My thinking is it's a condition.
Yeah.
Land use.
Yeah, it can be.
And I think that will eliminate probably 90% of any issues that might come up personally.
I agree. At the beginning, I was under the opinion, I didn't think about the fact that it's been around for 5 years.
Yeah.
To me, that's significant. If this was new, I would be adamantly against it. But because it's a pre-existing situation going to be modified,
It's going to improve.
I'm in favor of it. So should I make a motion, or are we going to?
Well, is there any additional questions?
Well, I
or
agree with
comments?
Commissioner Buck.
Okay.
I was initially against it, but I think the timing that it's been there is.
Mr.
vote
Chairman?
yes.
I just had a comment as well. I think the right-hand turn is for taking off, if I understand it correctly. Just wondering if there would be any restriction for landing as well, because there'd be some times a year you'd be coming in that you could fly over Havasu Heights coming in, and I think they could come in such a way as not to fly over Havasu Heights when they land as well.
Well, I'm not a pilot, but I certainly have flown in and out of the Havasu Airport many times, and I keep hearing the same thing, is you can't fly over the city. So I don't know why we can't put a restriction where you can't fly over Havasu Heights.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like, I know that they have certain no-fly zones on FAA maps.
Sure.
And I think that would be appropriate for this as well.
Everything's in the motion, and the safety of the residential properties there, I don't see too much concern there, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Any additional questions or comments?
Steve?
Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, we go ahead and approve item number 2 on today's agenda with the restriction imposed that traffic, I know we might get landing and taking off.
Yep.
Not be allowed to go over Hacienda Heights.
Mr.
Havasu
Chairman.
Heights, I'm sorry.
Before we complete this motion, I would like to caution the commission that, the flight patterns and stuff like that, I think would be a matter that would be governed by the FAA and out of the province of the land use regulations.
And I totally agree, but on the other hand, the FAA probably will not object to what we're talking about. I don't think, personally, but I know what you're saying. It's governed by a higher authority.
If I might say something?
Yeah.
It is governed by a higher authority. However, they also look at what our county says and come to that agreement. As long as they have adequate footage, space,
Okay.
clearance, they say okay.
Okay, we're in the middle of a motion, and we can have some
Mr.
more
Chairman, part of
discussion.
the making of that motion, I hesitate to say something that can't be done. So
Yeah.
I'd like to make the recommendation that be a condition. Either FAA grants it. Mr. Cox, is that, we can go to the FAA and ask them to make that a requirement of your landing strip, that there's no traffic over Havasu Heights?
Just make a condition and let him deal with it.
They don't
Just
care.
say yes or no.
They don't have regulation over a private runway unless I ask them.
Okay.
All
That
right.
solves that.
Make it as a condition for the
Yeah.
permit then. All right.
Finish your motion.
Condition?
No.
You
Finish, yeah.
That's it. That's my motion. Number 2, with the condition being that the traffic will not fly over Havasu Heights.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. For item number 2, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3.
Item 3 is an evaluation of a rezone of assessor's parcel number 227-15129 from an AR agricultural residential 1-acre minimum lot size zone to a C2H general commercial highway frontage zone to allow commercial development in the South Mohave Valley vicinity. This rezone was previously conditionally approved in 2007, had a couple of extensions of time, but then the time ran out, and so this rezone would basically reestablish the C2H zone that was previously approved. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 3? Okay, we have no speakers on the item. Would you like to address the commission? No? Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission?
As I understand it, this land is where Walmart is going to build right behind it. Is that right?
It is.
I think so.
Yes.
This
Yeah,
used
it's
to be
right next to Casa Serrano on the south side,
Yeah.
or north side of Casa Serrano.
Initially, it was purchased by Downey Saving, I believe, and then
Yeah.
I guess went through the bank.
Went through bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I may
Mr.
ask
Zami.
the applicant, are you having a plan for it, or is it just your?
Could you come up to the microphone, please, and state your name?
Chairman, Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Sandra Thomas. May I entertain
Sure.
the question?
Good morning, Sandra. Well, we are from the same area district, and we're obviously anxious to know if there is any other exciting project is coming. So do you have a plan for this particular parcel, or is it just changing to C2H?
We are seeking to change that, not necessarily with any specific plans, just the highest and best use of that property at this present point. I must say that as you see the development of Walmart, which should be in full force and possibly finished by the spring of 2014, or 2015, I'm sorry, that you will see something happening on that piece of
We're
property.
all anxiously waiting for that. Director Hunt, any news from, Super Walmart? I know there was some kind of a indication that they're going to start beginning of June, or,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, yeah, we actually talking almost every day with the Walmart attorney, and we still assisting Walmart to work out the traffic control issues that ADOT imposes on them on Highway 95, and we just lending our expertise, and then also on the turn on the Hammer Lane. So I think the project is delayed by about a month, and then what they telling us that it's going to go into construction in the summer, and they're supposed to finish within a year. That's what we know.
So the agreement that Walmart engineers and ADOT, and I know you had on the situation on that Hammer and 95 is not finalized yet?
Well, it was finalized, and the Highway 95 is actually resolved. The turning into Hammer Lane is a question, and I actually have a phone call scheduled with the Walmart attorney for tomorrow, and we try to resolve that last issue. It's ADOT's jurisdiction still, so we have to work through ADOT and kind of discuss it with them, but it's a small remaining issue. I'm very optimistic.
Thank you. And again, that would be something that you would be interested to know.
Indeed. I mean, our communication with Pugh and Lake, who are the certified real estate specialists for Walmart, suggests that they're hoping to have the store open by summer 2015.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Cool. Director Hunt?
Yes.
The applicant will have the same issue on egress and ingress, right, off of ADOT? They'll have to get clarification from ADOT on this property?
Yeah, ADOT makes those rules. We try to kind of expedite things, and actually we're trying to expedite and schedule a meeting with the property owners that will be impacted along Highway 95 and its ADOT jurisdiction. We already have all the addresses. Walmart wrote a letter to them. We tried to bring together a meeting and answer all the questions, and they're putting in 4 lanes there basically, so that should alleviate a lot of the problems, and ADOT is well aware of it, and that meeting will come after they finish the final plans, I would assume in a couple of weeks, less than a month.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, any questions or comments first?
I'll make a
done
motion
with
to
that? I'll
approve
entertain
the
a
staff
motion.
recommendation.
And I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 3. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Item number 4.
Item 4 is an evaluation of a request for a rezone of assessor's parcel numbers 228-05005D, 005J, and 005N from a C2 general commercial zone to a C2H general commercial highway frontage zone to allow additional commercial uses in the Fort Mohave vicinity. This also was previously rezoned from C2 to C2H back in 2002, but the time expired, so this would essentially reestablish the C2H rezone on this property. Thank you.
Okay, item number 4. Is the applicant present? Applicant is not present. We have.
She is.
She's right
In the front?
She's right behind Wendy. There you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. We have no speakers on the item. Would you like to address the commission or wait for questions? Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for item number 4. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Item 5 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on assessor's parcel 224-34015A for a residential garage in a C2 general commercial zone in the South Mohave Valley vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. I believe the applicant sent some photographs of the neighborhood yesterday that the staff should have received. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 5? Thank you. We have no speakers on the item. Would you like to address the commission or wait for? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question for staff. I'm a little bit confused about this parcel or project or neighborhood. It seems they're all C2, but there are a whole bunch of residential in it. Is that my understanding? Is that correct?
Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, yes, that's correct. This is an area that was rezoned commercial many years ago. Commercial development simply hasn't happened, so we get a series of requests for zoning use permits for residential uses in this commercially zoned area.
So the existing end users there are using it for permanent residential at this time?
That seems to be the direction it's going, yes.
Is there anything that we can do to encourage them to maybe rezone to R1? So it would be consistent, or is this something that we just deal with it, sweep it under the rug?
I think all these properties here are vested in their zoning, so I think anything that had to be done would have to come back through here, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Azarmi, members of the commission, we do frequently mention to them that they might be better off to rezone to R1, given that that's the direction that that tier of lots, or sometimes it's a double tier of lots, seem to be going. Many of the applicants, many of the property owners do not want to forgo the flexibility that the commercial zone also gives them. I will also point out that typically a ZUP is cheaper than a rezone. We have that issue. The county cannot require them to rezone the property. We have to get their express written permission. Even if even if it's a county-initiated rezone, we would have to get each property's express written, or each property owner's express written permission to move forward successfully with that rezone. So there's a lot of obstacles to doing so, but we do mention to them that sometimes that might be a better way for them to proceed.
Because they constantly have to pay the ZUP, but at the same time, they're paying a higher property tax, I assume.
And for many of them, that higher property tax is worth the flexibility, or let's say the potential future realized benefit from having that commercial zoning when they go to sell the property to the next owner.
Okay, thank you.
All right, answers that question. Any additional questions on item number 5? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept per staff recommendation, item 5.
We have a motion and a second on item number 5. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 6.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I may suggest on motions and seconds that you identify the maker of the motion and the second for the record keepers.
You're absolutely right. Peggy is, sorry, Peggy.
Sorry.
Just habit. Anyway, that was Mr. Jones, and who did the second?
I did, Steve.
Mr. Buck.
Okay, Mr. Buck. All right. Item number 6.
Item 6 is an evaluation of a request for rezone of Assessor's Parcel 30607-156A from a C2H 1A, General Commercial Highway Frontage, 1 acre minimum lot size zone, to a C2H, General Commercial Highway Frontage zone, to allow division of a commercial lot in the Golden Valley vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Basically, this removes the 1 acre minimum lot size specification that would then, because this property has water service, allow a smaller lot. Thank you.
Basically, this is going to correct the zoning in a way with the application.
Not sure I'd really say correct.
Or consistent.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Azarmi, I think a more appropriate term is to say it would bring it current with existing public infrastructure available to the property.
Okay.
Is the, did I ask if the applicant was here?
You haven't
Get
asked
that
yet?
far?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Now, we have no speakers on the item. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one quick question.
Go ahead, Mr.
There's 2 aprons or access points onto Hope Road, and the southern one would be for, looks like parcel B. But on that parcel plat, there's that little notched out corner, it'd be the northeast part of B or the southeast part of A. Is that apron going to still benefit parcel B, or will they have to add another access point to that? You just can't tell between the overlay and.
Blow it up. Is that a question for staff?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Posnell, members of the commission, I don't know that we have a specific answer for that one. That would depend upon, you know, whether or not the property owners themselves have easement agreements.
Yeah, I was going to say it would require a reciprocal easement at that point for.
I don't know that we necessarily would, and there appears to be another apron further on down the road, more towards where the doctor's office and the.
So it just seems like the
pharmacy
purpose is to benefit the two separate businesses to allow them to handle their property separately. So that was my concern, is that they still had the access without having to recreate something.
Looks like there's two accesses.
There is, but if you look at the parcel plat, that corner, that northeast corner there of B is notched out. So does that take away that access on that southern access, or does that include that? That's all I was.
Just it's right about there.
I mean, it's overlay right it to tell them.
You can't use my driveway.
Right.
Yeah. Today.
Unless you pave it.
Unless you pave tomorrow.
So hopefully they're dealing with that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Posnell, members of the commission, we would anticipate that they have dealt with it, that they have protected their access. I also might note that on this particular item, Mohave County is the applicant, so yes, we are here.
Okay. I have a question for staff. Just noticed it looking at the GIS map. The lot to the left, as we look at it, is zone C2H, 1 acre, and CMO. How does that work?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, typically when we get a lot that has two zonings, such as the one to the left, the resolution itself will say that, you know, something like the southern 300 feet or the southern 600 feet of this property is zoned.
Okay, all right. I just didn't know.
It usually gives us an indication of boundary.
Because it also is 1 acre minimum. Okay. Just curious, I've seen that on there. Any additional questions or comments from the commission to staff or the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve item 6 per staff recommendation.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Posnell and a second by Commissioner Simons. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Item number 7.
Item 7 is an evaluation of a request for a zoning use permit on Assessor's Parcel 306-31002B for a swap meet and flea market in a C2H 4A general commercial highway frontage 4 acre minimum lot size zone and a C2 2A general commercial 2 acre minimum lot size zone in the Golden Valley vicinity. And staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning use permit subject to the conditions of the staff report. Thank you.
Is the applicant present? Okay, we have a couple of speakers on that item, and we'll do them first. Tony Posner?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony Posner, and I'm here to support Nellie's Corner, the swap meet over on 68. I was a vendor, but since the flyers came down because of the complaint, we've had a lot less people. So I really hope that you guys will listen to Suzanne and keep this thing going. We need it. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Barbara Cole.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Cole, and I am still a vendor at Neely's Corner, and the people that come by my booth absolutely love it. They think it's great for the community, and I do too. It's like everything else is outside and so hard for people to get around, and I'm really here for support for Suzanne, and I hope that you do approve this petition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is all for speakers. Would the applicant like to address the commission? Okay, all right. Any questions, comments from the commission to staff or the applicant?
Yes.
Commissioner Simons?
This is actually the staff, if anyone knows. I'm very familiar with the building. I think that they've done a beautiful job. It's nicely put together, nice scenery, parking, it's abundant. But my question is on every corner of Golden Valley, you have what I call the squat swappers. Is there a law or regulation against them doing that? Because I've noticed also that they just leave behind whatever doesn't sell, and then kind of county and other people have to go clean it up.
And it's every.
Is there something, you know, to, like these guys, it's contained, it's monitored, it brings people in, it brings people to the valley. But these other people, when you drive by, I mean, you just like,
Sitting there.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Commissioner Simmons, members of the commission. There are several permitted swap meets in Golden Valley.
Correct.
Off the top of my head, I cannot tell you how many there are, but there are several there. On weekends in particular, you'll also occasionally get the folks who set up kind of ad hoc on a corner. If we see them, we will inform them. You know, the odd ad hoc people, if we see them that they've set up without a permit, without permissions, we will inform them that they cannot conduct their business in such a manner on a street corner if they want to go and either associate with themselves with a swap meet or submit a permit for a swap meet in their own right, that they certainly can do that.
is there a list that's accessible of the corners that have like permits? I understand.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, members of the commission, I do not have one with me today. We can develop one for the commission if they are interested.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So just to clarify that, so some of those ones that have the appearance of ad hoc because it's a little more than occasional is that those could possibly be permitted as well. Is that what we're saying?
If I can address it, if they come through this same process, yes, they could possibly. Now, the ones who essentially are just setting up on some corner, trespassing on somebody else's property, obviously they're not going to.
Right, and I guess that's what we're trying to define here, because there are some very nice fenced-off properties that have the flea markets and whatnot, but there's a lot of corners that have, they just set up vendor and they're selling things, and there's no appearance of being permitted, and and that's, I think, what we're trying to get to is.
And another unfortunate part of it is that a lot of them are only there like on a weekend or a day or two, and by the time we get an inspector out there, they're gone. They're really hard to get a handle on.
I'll drop by and drop notice.
We do generally notify the property owner if it's a recurring thing that there are people doing this, and sometimes they will then post their property as no trespassing, and then the sheriff's office can go out and deal with it. But
did I hear Commissioner Simon say she wanted to volunteer for that?
I heard it. She most certainly did.
You know what? I would love to volunteer because I can go to every corner there is, and what's discussed. I mean, it really brings down the valley. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah.
Because when they drive away in their van that they probably live in, they leave the junk that didn't sell so they can go and grab more and do it the following weekend. And it is very disturbing as far as presence. Appearance. We put regulations on property owners and businesses along Highway 68 to have fences, maintain, obscurity, maintain this, but yet you have these people, and they are groups, and they are there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and then when they leave, there's a junk pile.
Volunteer code enforcer.
That's right.
Yep.
That's,
I'll pay for the gas.
Talk to the director after the
I would
meeting.
love it.
I'll second that motion.
Yes. All in favor?
No mileage, Chris.
All right, any additional questions or comments? Item number 7. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept per staff's recommendation.
Second.
that. Okay, ahead, Chris. Give it.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Jones and a second by Mr. Posnell. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Actually, Ms. Simons had the second on that one.
But there would be a conflict of interest because she's now a volunteer.
She's
Yeah,
now
she
a code
wants to be a
enforcement.
volunteer.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
Don't put
I'm
me as
sorry.
a conflict. Don't give away my
The second
volunteer
is
work.
Commissioner Simon's request for volunteers. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 9.
Item 9 is evaluation of request for zoning use permit on Assessor's Parcel 208-40029 for residents in a CMO 4A commercial manufacturing open lot storage 4-acre minimum lot size zone in the Yucca vicinity. Staff recommends approval as indicated in the staff report.
Is the applicant present? The applicant is present, and we have no speakers on the item. Any questions or comments of the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve according to staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Simons and a second by Commissioner Posnell. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 10.
Item 10 is an evaluation request for rezone of Assessor's Parcel number 324-12038 from an R1 1A single-family residential 1-acre minimum lot size zone to an AR agricultural residential 1-acre minimum lot size zone to allow personal livestock in the North Kingman vicinity. You have two options in your staff recommendation, depending on how the discussion evolves. There's one with conditions for approval if the commission decides to make that recommendation, also one for denial. We do have a letter of objection on this. Basically, it would, the purpose is to allow a horse on the property. And it would be the first parcel in this immediate vicinity to have that privilege. Thank you.
Is the applicant present for item number 10?
She's here.
Okay. Any questions or comments of staff or the applicant?
Does she want to address?
Mr. Chairman,
What?
are you asking us if we have questions? I'm not sure who you were
Of
asking.
the speaker, right. Do we have any questions for the speaker, or for the applicant?
I
The
do.
applicant is here.
I do.
Okay. Would the applicant please come down?
Pardon me, but I'm really nervous, never done this before.
Please state your name.
My
You'll be
name is
fine.
Darlene Gerhart. I live at 4369 North Able. What is your question and how can I help you?
May I
and
call you
how can I
Arlene?
convince you?
May I call you Arlene?
Darlene,
Darlene.
Darlene.
Yes.
Thank you. Is this, and this is for the accommodation of a horse?
yes.
Are there any other horses in the neighborhood?
In the immediate vicinity, no. But in the neighborhood itself, everybody's got something that they're not supposed to have. I'm trying to do this legally and get zoned correctively, but there's pigs, there's sheep, there's goats, there's chickens. I mean, you name it, you can find it or you can hear it in the morning when you go outside. Like I said, I'm trying to do this legally. I'm an animal lover, and if I get something, I don't want to have to get rid of it because somebody complains. But like I said, I want to do this legally.
That's
and
great.
hopefully I can get it zoned.
That's very good. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
A
Mr.
question for the staff. John, you mentioned that in this neighborhood, this would be a spot zoning in a way, right? Because it's inconsistent with what's going on around them, right?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Azarmi, basically, it would be a sort of a spot zoning. I do understand that there are other livestock out there. I believe we probably have some zoning violations here and there that we're dealing with, but as the applicant indicated, she's trying to come through the process. I don't, does that answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Another thing I'd like to say is it's kind of a weird little street that I live on. One side of the street is residential, across the street is commercial. I've got semis and delivery trucks. There's a tow company that just opened up not too long ago on the corner of Subhaven and Able. I've got tow trucks going, and I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying, if this was a prestigious, $300,000 neighborhood, I could kind of understand people, bucking it a little bit. But considering what goes on there, where I'm located, my outskirts neighborhoods, I don't think a horse is going to hurt anything at all. And like I said, to me, it's not going to be a farm. It's going to be, I might get some chickens, but other than that, I've been already told by one of my neighbors, no roosters. I'm like, okay, cool. But if you go outside at 4 o'clock in the morning, that's all you hear is, and I'm like, okay, no problem.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Azarmi.
Thank you. The fact is that, your horse is not going to be in the front yard, it's going to be in the backyard.
No.
And basically, it's going to have some neighbors, and it seems like you have 1, 2, 3, 4 immediate neighbors, I guess, that, they're going to be basically imposed to that, and that's why it is inconsistent with the zoning that we have for that area. So, having commercial across the street has no relevance
No,
to
I
it.
understand that.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Simons?
Simons?
Because if the rezone goes through, and I see you're doing it legally, and you are correct, I'm very familiar with your area, there are all kinds of wonderful animals over there. To appease your neighbors, are you going to maintain the horse manure kept clean, picked up, and removed? That way they can't complain about your flies?
Definitely. One of my neighbors, I have talked to some of my neighbors, and one of my neighbors was concerned about flies. The way that our lots are laid out, they're actually really deep.
Right.
And most of the houses are closer to the road. So the backyards is where most of your acreage is, and there's no houses anywhere near where the horse would be. Okay, it's basically, now that's right now, 10 years from now, I don't know, but right now they're all vacant because everybody's house is forward.
Right. But maintaining it, like removing it off
the
the
horse
property,
manure and
that
stuff
way
like
you
that,
don't
yes.
open
I've had
that can of
horses my
worms.
whole life.
Okay, I just
And-
don't want to open those can of worms and then have your neighbors come back to you and environmental come out. You need, So, but I do understand what you're saying. That's why I was asking that question instead of spreading it, blending it in, because that does draw the flies to,
Yes.
have it removed.
Hauled out, not a
Okay.
problem.
Thank you.
Well, obviously, the neighbors weren't too concerned because nobody filed an objection.
We had one.
This is,
Yeah, we had.
I didn't see it.
I think it's there in the information.
It was
Oh,
on the information.
Letter of objection.
And
Oh, there it is. I
Mr.
didn't-
Chairman, I don't think we want to open the door for a spot zoning.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend denial of the proposed zoning use permit as recommended by the staff.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Zami and a second by Commissioner Selberg. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Poznell,
Denial?
Commissioner Selberg,
Yes, vote.
Commissioner Buck,
I vote for approval, not denial.
Commissioner Azarmi,
Deny?
Commissioner Walker.
Denied.
Commissioner Coletta is not here. Commissioner Jones?
I move for acceptance.
Commissioner Simons?
I move for acceptance as well.
I'd like to clarify my vote. I was voting yes for the motion.
It's denial,
Okay, what do we have?
Okay.
Chairman.
Excuse me.
Well,
Commissioner Selberg, you're voting yes?
I'm voting yes for the motion, yes for denial.
Okay. Commissioner, or Chairman Fleury?
No.
Denial.
Deny.
Sorry, there is not a place here to accommodate this, so,
It's 5-3.
5-3, okay, thank you.
The motion fails, or the motion is approved for denial. I'm sorry about that. You can take this to the Board of Supervisors at their meeting, which is July, what was the date on that?
Mr. Chairman, I believe the next meeting where Planning and Zoning Commission items will be heard will be July 7th.
July, there it is, you're correct. So July 7th, you can come back before the supervisors, because this will be on their agenda too, and you can ask for approval at that point.
Okay, is there another charge again for reapplying?
Not going to the supervisors, not at all.
Okay, thank you, I didn't.
You're very welcome.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I feel awkward when someone comes in and makes a comment like that, makes a plea, and we turn them down when the neighbors are essentially getting away with it. And I don't want to make her a whistleblower, but I would hope that our code enforcement people are listening. Is that a safe assumption?
I think that's a good analogy. We got a volunteer.
I'll volunteer with her if that's the case. It's just,
Is this open for discussion at the moment? Just,
probably not. Probably not. We can talk about it later.
okay.
Item number 11 is our
Item 11 is
zoning.
discussion and possible action on a request to amend the Mohave County zoning ordinance, Section 31H4, sign ordinance, off-premise signs, regarding provisions for their location, minimum separation, and relationship to designated scenic routes and vistas. The Zoning Ordinance Review Committee recommended approval of this amendment, and it's attached. And I guess if you have any questions, we'll try to entertain them. Thank you.
Everybody get a chance to review the committee's comments?
I have a comment.
Okay, go right ahead.
The zoning meetings that we've been attending, we've worked very hard on this, and I believe we should pass this.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
I
sir.
just want to make the comment that we're still keeping in compliance with ADOT's regulations. They have certain spacing that they recommend as well, and so we're mirroring their spacing that they have statewide.
Okay. We have a couple of speakers on the item. Let's hear what they have to say. Brad Larson. And then Natalie Bake.
Hello, Commission.
Please state your
Again,
name.
it's Brad Larson from White Hills, Rosie's Den, and some of you know where Ed and Ben, Commissioner Selberg, you've been there, and this whole thing is to get an off-premise sign, which I showed you last week, and I don't know. I realized that if you put something down here, I didn't know that because I was in late last time, but I wanted to show you what we have in mind, and refer to why they have the Beautification Act for the Desert Beautification Act for Mohave County from Pierce Ferry to Lake Mead, okay? If I can put that down?
Yeah, go ahead and put that down. I guess my first question out of the box is, have you given this information to the Development Services staff so that they could look at this, so we're not looking at it for the first time?
They have seen a picture of it. I haven't given them a copy of it because I just had, this is what I showed you last month when I heard it up here. This is all we're requesting to do. At night, of course, we don't want a bunch of lights and everything, because if you come out of White Hills up from the mountains, there's only 2 areas that have lights, which would be Rosie's, the Chevron, and the last stop. There's 2 sections there. On the northbound side of the north side of the highway, we've got 3 billboards, giant ones, and on the southbound side we have nothing. There's not 1 billboard there, so we want to put a billboard up at the Rosie's Den Welcome Center, which would be the first stop to place to have a billboard up as you're coming out of Las Vegas.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Just 1 second, please. I understand what you're saying, but what you're asking is something that should be brought up with staff so that we get it in our, because I don't know if your particular question is been built into what we're looking at here for the zoning ordinances, but we can't say we're going to do this for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Larson, this item that we have on the agenda is part of the ordinance if it's going to be approved by the commission and also by the Board of Supervisors, and it would include your application.
Right.
So that's basically, we are not approving your particular.
I understand that,
It is a larger general ordinance for the Mohave County.
Countywide.
And countywide, and it would be approved by if it's approved by us and approved by Board of Supervisors, then it would be part of the ordinance, and then you can turn your application accordingly. Thank you.
I was just trying to inform you that this is why this has been pushed, and I saw what they did with the ordinance, and they redlined a lot of the ordinance to reduce the minimum requirements, and
reduce the minimum requirement? Reduce the minimum requirement?
Reduced it. I'm sorry. Yeah, they blacklined everything that they wanted to do, which you've
seen. It would be more
seen.
consistent with ADOT right now, so
Right.
it would be one.
Which that's my next stop too.
Thank you.
So, okay, that's all I had to say, and I just kind of reiterated what we said last month. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Natalie? All right.
So do we need to have a motion?
Any additional questions, comments about the ordinance, the way it's looking? I'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept per staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jones and a second by Commissioner Posnell, right?
No.
Oh, Selberg, sorry. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Staff report. Ms. Ballard, do you want to go over that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Just to bring the commission up to date on the Zoning Ordinance Review Committee, the committee's actually made it through, I think, the lion's share of the ordinance. We're going to try and pick up the few straggling chapters today. Also today, we're going to be putting together a schedule for kind of, right now we got a basket case, so we kind of are going to be looking at putting together a schedule to reassemble the thing and make sure that it's a legible or a readable, coherent document that we refer you to a particular section elsewhere in the ordinance. You actually end up where you're supposed to be and not at some dangling place that means nothing to what you're trying to accomplish. So we'll be setting up a schedule to do that particular exercise and get the entire document before the this commission. I believe that you had minutes attached for the March 12th, the April 3rd, and the May 12th meetings. I will remind the commission as well as the public that copies of all the information or all the minutes are on our website under, Zoning Ordinance Review Committee, and everyone is encouraged to go look at the minutes as well as the agendas, etc.
Go ahead.
If I just may add that I really want to thank the committee members, the commissioners that participated. It was a lot of hard work, and we got really good comments and good ideas from the commissioners, and we are very close wrapping it up like Chris indicated, and we're going to have a meeting this afternoon, and we may need another meeting or may not, and anticipate to be wrapped up. And really wanted to thank the commissioners that participated in that effort.
What's the timeline for us getting through all these ordinances? Or was this the last?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the timeline for, I think that's one of the things we're going to try and establish today, is how long it's going to take to reassemble the document. Also, we want to allow adequate time for the individual commissioners to read through the document that's produced, the draft document, as well as the public, and see if there are any issues that they would consider deal killers, if you will, that that we really need to go back and perhaps readdress or address for the first time. So we want to make sure that we give everybody sufficient amount of time. If asked, I'd probably say, that you need about 60 days to do that.
I wasn't trying to nail anybody down other than 2014, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have to be done in 2014. We've got another project that we're starting for next year.
For your
We can't be
birthday,
doing them both at the same time.
Before the... we have so many fun things to do here.
Yeah, at the end of the 60 days, there will be a quiz from the commissioners.
Yeah. I'll be absent that meeting.
Call to public.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Commissioner Simons, you had a comment that you wanted to make. This would be the great time to do it.
Yes, I do. Back on what we were talking about as far as Darlene. It's everywhere you look around Kingman, Golden Valley, and Sohai. If it's like a homeowners association, they make the block out. So part of Sohai, there is a home. When you buy a place there, there is no horses allowed. Okay? You go to the other side, there's horses, 1 acre minimum, 1 horse per acre. You go through Kingman, Able, especially that area, you're right. She probably did open a can of worms, because if you were to drive up and down those roads, you will see exactly that. For every 15 houses, 10 have animals. Okay, they're not supposed to. They're following the 1 acre thing, yes. Probably not their zone, yes. But if you can change across the street of Able to be commercial, for a commercial trucking company, as in the tow truck company, which I know she's talking about, and that's viable from a residential, because, to change it, why doesn't it make it viable for a lady who has that 1 acre, is willing to do it legally, and yet we punish her for changing legally, but yet you're opening a can of worms and you're going to go and tell people, you can't have your horse, you can't have your cow, your goat has got to go, sorry, your 4-H pig, it's out of there, kids. Nope, you won't have your horse here because it's out of here. And that's exactly what we're about to do. The land use there, if you look at the 1 acre minimum, the land use is correct. It is correct for weighed livestock animal. And we just, we turn this down based on, because it's not already zoned. Well, neither was across the street for commercial. It is now.
Well, most of these properties on there
Zoned.
Yeah.
C2.
I think when...
Right. But and that's what I'm saying, she has the 1 acre
Yeah.
to do it, and we just turned it down because, you know, but yet there is a multitude, and now she's trying to do it correct. But now we're gonna go back to the board
And I applaud her for even taking the step to do it legally. Everybody else comes to us after the fact and wants us to make them right. But I think if the Board of Supervisors approves it, that gives us direction to go.
Okay.
If we have another one that comes up. And at least that's kind of the way I have always looked at it when we deny something. And the reason that we denied it wasn't conforming, consistent. Yeah, we need to put that in there too. But I think after the Board of Supervisors make their determination, then I think that gives us, you know, not just that area, other areas also that that have that same set of circumstances.
My feeling's like Crystal. I feel that if 2/3 of the people have animals, then why shouldn't she?
Yeah.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Bob, I disagree with you because, you know, right now there have a lot of violations in Golden Valley. And, you know, just by 2/3 doing something wrong does not make the 1/3 to follow that. I think that, you know, as we know, unfortunately, Mohave County does not have the manpower to follow every parcel and all that, but it's complaint driven. And, you know, when you're talking about the spot zoning, well, I know that she would take care of it and all that, but what that opens the door for others to come in and, you know, before you know it, those who went there without, I mean, you know, without the understanding that there's not going to be any horses, any, you know, bugs or flies or whatever, all of a sudden they're exposed to that.
Well, the only thing that I've got to say there is that of all the neighbors that lived around here, I mean, they posted this. So no one showed up, and there wasn't obviously any concern. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just saying you got to look at the you know, all the circumstances or issues that are there. But anyway, we'll see what the supervisors have to say. Call to the public. Anybody wishing to speak to the commission, call to the public, not address anything that was on our agenda today? Hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion by Mr. Walker and a second by Mr. Posnell to adjourn the meeting. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you all for coming today.